No one can summarize Lean more effectively than Taiichi Ohno did. Taiichi Ohno was the director of manufacturing at Toyota during their heady days in the 1950s and 60s and 70s when they created the Toyota production system and really perfected the process of Lean. And he was once asked, what is Lean? What is this Toyota production system? And his answer was, all we're doing is looking at the timeline from when a customer gives us the order until we collect the cash, and we're eliminating all of the non-value-adding wastes we find along that timeline. That's all there is to it. And that applies universally, whether it's a manufacturer saying, how long does it take to go from start to finish to make something, and where are we wasting time and money along the way? And it's no different in the healthcare environment. How long does it take from when I walk into the doctor's office until I leave diagnosed and with my medication? And where was time and resources and money wasted along the way? It's really that simple. Lean really is universal. It applies to any organization that has processes that are trying to accomplish an objective. And so there's not a specific area of industry or business or type of organization Lean doesn't apply to. But the ones that tend to get the most benefit or the most value beyond manufacturing tend to be in the service industries where there's a lot of complexity and a lot of money involved. Typically the financial sector and healthcare are the ones that are seeing the greatest benefits, simply because of that level of complexity and the perception that costs are spinning out of control. New Zealand exporters have a particular imperative to adapt Lean principles simply because they're competing on the world stage. It's not a matter of scale. And this perception in New Zealand that we're too small, we can't compete with the big guys, is simply not true. There's no reason why New Zealand can't be the place that can make 1,000 of anything and ship it anywhere in the world, and to do it as cost effectively and with as good a quality as you'll find anywhere in the world. Typically the companies that I work with are, when you look into their overall cost structure, at best you find that 2/3 of their cost is actually going into making superior products, and the other 1/3 of their cost is all on administration and bureaucracy and moving things around the factory for no purpose. It's eliminating that third of the cost structure that's just wasteful, that enables you to have a fairly high cost product that still sells at a competitive price and is a high quality product. And I think that's where New Zealand really needs to be focused on, not trying to be the lowest cost in the world, but the ones that provide the best value for the dollar in the world. And that's what Lean is really aimed at, helping you get to that optimum value proposition. Not necessarily the cheapest, but the best value for the money. Really, the key driver for an exporter embarking on a Lean approach is the senior manager's commitment. Once the top person in the organization really becomes convinced that Lean is the right way to go, and not just at an intellectual level, but believes with some degree of passion that this is a better way to operate and that it's worthwhile to make this substantial transformation, then it's possible. It rarely happens from the bottom up. It rarely is successful when lower level people in the organization get fired up about it and then have to fight with their senior management in order to make it happen. So the starting point really is executive commitment. Leadership needs to communicate the vision for Lean verbally, of course, but quite often it takes more than just verbal communication. It takes more than just standing up and saying, here's what we believe and here's what we're going to do. And in most organizations, that means there's a little bit of demonstrating before people are going to believe. They need to see management not only say that things are going to change, but to actually see management change in order for them to fully accept the communication and the vision. The first real benefits that companies tend to see with Lean are productivity gains. That typically they find that their cost is going down rather dramatically, but probably more tangible and more immediate than that is shorter delivery cycles. As companies start to focus in on their processes and how they get things done, you'll see dramatic reductions in lead times. If a company is not seeing those benefits within the first several months of pursuing Lean, then they're doing something wrong. Really, the major hurdles that companies face, and it's true in New Zealand and it's true in the United States and throughout Europe, are getting past the accounting systems. Accounting has been a traditional problem going back probably 75 years, and those of us in the United States are the ones that created the problem, and it's probably the worst thing that we exported to the rest of the world. But this idea that that dollars are not real, and you see accounting statements that describe inventory as an asset instead of real money and actually a good thing for a company to have their cash tied up. Accounting principles that lead companies to do those sorts of things are just destructive to lean. The big difference between lean accounting and traditional manufacturing accounting or business accounting is that lean accounting is very much the same way you do it at home. Henry Ford said it best when he created the assembly lines back 100 years ago, when he said, when it comes to accounting, all that really matters is there more money in the bank at the end of the week than there was at the beginning? And as long as the answer to that is yes, then things are okay. And if the answer to that is no, then we have problems. And that's as complicated as accounting needs to be. And so I think that accounting hurdle is the single biggest obstacle that companies come to. They run into an accounting department that won't get on board or won't support the change. Followed closely by senior leadership that really doesn't want to change themselves, that they'll talk about the culture and they'll talk about respect for people and talk about involving people, but in their heart it's obvious that they still don't really have the necessary level of respect for the people in the front lines. The greatest misperception of lean, and where lean has been mischaracterized and caused problems for the industry, is in believing that it has something to do with cutting staff. This eliminating waste has been translated into getting rid of people, and nothing could be further from the truth. The truly lean companies make a lifetime commitment to their employees, and most of the ones that I've mentioned and I've worked with haven't had layoffs in 30, 40, 50 years. And it really is a misunderstanding of lean and a perversion of lean principles to use it to eliminate staff. It's traditional management that believes that labor cost is a big deal. In most manufacturing companies, the labor cost of the product you buy is only 5 or 10% of it. To think that making a change with that is significant is just folly. When the whole organization is aimed in a laser-like kind of a focus on creating value for customers and tossing aside everything a customer won't pay for, then the opportunities and the success stories are just phenomenal coming from lean.